definitely. You know what? We're gonna talk about When 40 Blooms today, and this is the author Jacinta Howard. And so, yay! This is what we're gonna talk about. I'm excited. This is a good book.
Thank you.
And so, y'all, this is my first time doing my interviews like this over on this app. So, I'm Yoko with Girlfriends Unfiltered, and this is author Jacinta Howard. A lot of y'all might know Jacinta Howard from the Prototype series. It was amazing. That was like 10 years ago, huh?
Yeah, Happiness in Jersey came out in 2014, so 11 years. Yeah, was when it first started. Yep.
And no one would even know because it seems so relevant and it seems like it's just so new. So many people are getting introduced to it. So, yeah, she is very well known in the indie space, and took a little leap this time into, would you say it's a, how would you describe the way this recent book was published?
So this book was published by a small press, Honey Blossom Press, and so this was like my first time working with, not in the completely in the independent space. They're a small boutique press, so it's still small, but yeah, this is my first. So it's still small, but yeah, this is my first time not doing it completely and totally on my own.
Okay, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna jump right in, and I just wanted to ask you. The first question I always ask is, when did you fall in love with Black romance?
I fell in love with Black romance. I mean, I'm trying to think about the first Black romance novel I read. Like, I feel like the first one I read was probably when I was sneaking into my grandmother's books and reading. Like, she used to get the subscription to, I think it was Silhouette, and so like every like maybe once a year or less, they would have a Black couple in there because it was always all white. So yeah, that was probably when I mean I fell in love with romance then, and I just always wanted to see Black characters, and so yeah, when I came upon the indie space, probably 2014, that was so dope to me because I had not seen Black romance, flourishing like that in a space. So yeah.
You started reading indie work before you wrote the indie work.
No, no, no. I actually when I first published my very first book is Better Than Okay, and then like a couple months later I published Happiness in Jersey because I wrote those books simultaneously. Um, but no, I was not familiar with the Black indie space then, and so after I published my first book, one of the readers invited me to like talk in her reader group on Facebook, and
Yeah.
that's when I first discovered, and I was like, oh wow, like yeah, that was my first real introduction. Yeah.
What made you start writing it? And what type of skills did you have?
Um, what made me start writing? I mean, I've been writing romance since I was like 11. Um,
I love it.
yeah, like me and one of my friends, one of my homegirls at the time, like we both were like avid readers, and so like we decided that we were gonna start writing a book, and we would like write a scene and then pass it back and forth between each other. So that was my first time like technically writing a romance, but yeah, I never forgot the question. What was the other part that you asked me?
Okay, I was like, when did you start writing? Like you said, you started writing back and forth, but like, what skills did you write in English class, creative writing, journalism? Like, what
Oh yeah.
led you to making you believe that you can actually just pick up a pen and go? Because let me tell you, I'm afraid to even. I couldn't even imagine. Like, I had difficulty. Well, no, I didn't have difficulties writing love letters, but like, what led you to this saying, I think I could write a book?
Um, I don't know. I think, like I said, like I just used to read a whole lot when I was younger, and I've always loved to write. I majored in journalism in college, and so I've been a journalist in Atlanta for about 20 years now. So I'd already been, published and doing that professionally when I finally decided to go ahead and, you know, write my first book and publish it. And like when I first started, I mean, once publishing opened up, like the opportunities for indies to publish their work
Okay.
opened up, it was like, a whole new world. Because prior to that, it was very difficult to publish your
Mhm.
work as an independent. And it was, obviously very difficult to get book deals and that kind of thing because the industry is pretty racist, but you know, so yeah. But I mean, my first,
On that.
but yeah, so that's how I kind of got into writing. I've been a journalist for a long time and still am. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go back, like way back. No, I have to go back to prototypes because we have to, that starting point. So, and I think that's what when you say Jacinta Howard, people automatically think prototypes, right? You think in the whole Jersey and Kennedy and Cassie and that whole crew. Um, if you took a long break, it seems after that. Did they just use all of your energy, or what was the break for? Or did you? What made you take that break after writing the prototypes?
Honestly, I didn't think of it as me taking a break. it just it just kind of happened that way. It's not like so, I have like, a lot of books in the work right now that I'm like writing.
Okay.
Not that I haven't been like not that I haven't been writing, but and it's not that they took a lot out of me because honestly that series is so spread out. I think the first one came out in 2015 and the final book came out in 2019, so it was a pretty long spread out. But I mean, it was just more a matter of just kind of, I guess maybe regrouping subconsciously because it was, like I said, I didn't consciously say, I'm going to take a break now. I'm tired. It was just kind of like nothing was coming and nothing was getting finished. So that forced a break, I guess.
That whole series for me was my first introduction into Black love and Black romance. I always tell everybody that.
That's
I mean, it's just so dope for me because the experience watching them grow, it just, and all of the work that you put into that, from the music to the research, it was just done so well. And so every chance I get, I love to tell everyone. What was the, I'm going to say the seed, but what gave you that ideal to write the prototypes?
Well, I mean, the prototype really started with Jersey because I just wanted to write about a female bass player. I love, love, love music. I'm a music head. I write about music all the time. So, I wanted to write about a Black band, of musicians who played instruments. Just
Right.
because I'm just like a music nerd and that just fascinates me. Like that's my favorite thing to like watch live musicianship. I said I'm the person who sits on YouTube and watches like live shows of like, you know, people performing live in clubs for hours and hours. I do that. So
And you go back and you always put in, I remember you introduced, okay, sorry, I called her.
I was like, I lost yourself. Okay.
Ayla Kuti. And I was like, okay. So you make sure you really introduce the readers to more than just what's going on. And you
Yeah.
did that a lot in the new book. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing it again. She's giving us a history lesson.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about what part. So you wrote young college students coming of age, and so here it is. I had to find my book. And when 40 blooms, obviously she's turning 40.
Mm-hmm.
How was the transition from writing teenagers, well, not teenagers, they were young adults, to writing a grown but
The transition really wasn't that hard, really. I mean, because really, I'm mostly always just focused on writing character and like seeing what that person's like. Usually, the woman in my books growth, like what their growth track is going to be in the book. So, I mean, really, that's not so much about age. I mean, obviously, there's some things in When 40 Blooms that just situations that she's in that automatically forced me to write a more mature person. Obviously, she's divorced. She has a 16-year-old kid. But it wasn't like in terms of like approaching character and approaching story, it wasn't that different than writing anything else because I really try to just write character driven fiction. So yeah, that wasn't really too difficult. I mean, I probably had a few more fights in the prototype. The characters got in a few more fights in that book, but other than that.
What was the seed for this story? How did you come up with it?
I just wanted to write about, I like Second Chance, and I just really wanted to write about, a woman who, I think that a lot of times we put so much on turning 40, especially in this country. And I just wanted to write about, like, what does it really look like in actual real life? Like, what does an actual person look like when they turn 40, and like everything isn't perfect, and, they might be struggling in different areas of their life and not really living up to what they thought 40 would be. So yeah, that was kind of that.
Well, I'm gonna tell a little bit about it. No spoilers, I don't think. Okay, so we're talking about Jackson and Simone. And like you said, they have a 16-year-old who I just like he rooted for his parents. He's a teenager, so he has a friend that gets a little piece of the story that's kind of like his girlfriend, I want to say. And she gets a piece of the story. And so there's a story there with her. And then there's the best friend, and with Lola, did I say it right? Logan. And so she gets a little bit of a story. And so it's almost like stories running together. All of them look a little different. But Simone and Jackson's story is pretty much she has her issues. And I said, I called it Forever Love. And I also said it's kind of like how when your own traumas interfere in your relationships. And so even though she loved on him, she still, and she was afraid to really love. So it's easier to step back and get a divorce, even though she still loved him. And it was so relatable.
Thank you.
Really, really, really relatable. When you delved into divorce and like the dynamics surrounding it, what type of research did you do?
Well, into the actual divorce, I mean, I really just, it was more observing people and observing people I know, and like, just talking to different couples, and, observing people in my personal life as well. Yeah, that was the main, I won't give any names away, but yeah, that was just more personal observation.
It was some good observation. It was a really good observation. So you're your first reader, right? And so when you read that work, which is very different from the prototypes in that whole series, as a first reader, what was your first thoughts when you read what you wrote?
I mean, I liked it. Obviously, I have to in order to be comfortable putting it out. And I just was wondering, I mean, my first thoughts was just, I just was like, this is slightly different for me. And I hoped, readers would be able to, the ones who are familiar with me and liked my other work, I was hoping that they would come along with me to a slightly different story, a slightly different style of writing, even, I would say. So, I mean, slightly different, not that different. I mean, I guess maybe it's different just because of the age of the characters, maybe.
Yeah, I would say the age, but I would say the writing. I mean, well, I would say like I'm not that it got better, but it was just okay. This is what I would say. So the prototypes, right? So we had the prototypes, you read the prototypes, and then you get like fast forward maybe 5 years, you get this influx of a lot of new writers, and the writing just looks different, and so you're getting just different styles, okay?
Yeah,
and then you bring this, and it's just like, oh, refreshing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
It's like, yes, she's back. You always manage to put some type of history into your books, and I don't know. I've always liked Betty Boop, so the fact that you focused and you did the whole thing on Esther Jones, like, what made you go there and do that?
I just be writing. Yeah, honestly, I was just writing, and I was just, I'm not, I don't plot my books or anything like that. I just write, kind of freestyle in sequential order too. So when Logan said that, it just kind of came out like in dialogue, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I was like, I knew that about Betty Boop. I remember like having conversations with my mom about that. I think we saw her on a T-shirt or something, and we were talking about that. So I knew that, and I was like, oh, this is like an easy way to just throw in that she was actually, yeah.
I did not know that. I was all excited. I was like, yay! I just love. So even though it's romance and it's fiction, like I feel very good when I can close a book and say I learned something outside of the love relationship. And so I realized I was like, yeah, okay. And I like so you and your sports, you make sure you get that in there. And so basketball, like you really and you even talked about some of the older basketball players.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that? Basketball instead of football? Just curious.
Honestly, I'm a huge sports fan. So I actually, when I went, like, this is similar to Simone. I actually took that from my own story. I actually thought that I would be a sports journalist when I went to school. And then I ended up kind of falling more into music journalism, which was fine because I'm a huge music fan too. But yeah, so I'm a big sports fan, and especially like old. I guess now it's old school. I'm aging myself, but the older players that I talk about. Like that was like, when I was a teenager, my room was like covered in, Barry Sanders and, Alonzo Mourning and all those old school now basketball players and stuff. So yeah, because these characters are older, I was able to name drop them and have it not be weird.
and keep them relevant. Like
yeah.
I was loving it. I was like, yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. The whole concept of a leap year baby. I never have heard a conversation with anyone talking about a leap year baby. So let's talk. Like, where'd that come from, and why did you want to give that to us?
I honestly am like a big birthday person. Like in terms of like, I'm not super into like astrology. Like I'm casually, like I'll read a horoscope and stuff, but I'm just always interested in people's birthdays, and I just thought that talking about a leap year baby was just an interesting point to talk about. I mean, especially since we're talking about her turning 40, it just seemed cool. Like, why not?
I know, right? But and then she picked February instead of March, and I was just again, it's one of those things that kind of keeps your brain like going. So when you're writing, are you outlining like these ideals, or I want to make sure I put this topic in, this topic in? What is the process so that people, the authors, or someone who may be interested in becoming an author, what does that process look like for you, your writing process?
For me, well, I think it's different for every writer. You just got to figure out what works for you. For me, I don't really outline. Outlines kind of throw me off quite a bit. I will do like a general, like if I'm writing a book that I know I have to hit several points and like explain, like in this book, there were several moving parts to it, and I didn't want to leave any loose ends, and I knew I had to like I had to work in a lot. So I do leave like myself like general notes of things, or like if I have an idea as I'm writing, and I'm like, okay, because I'm a sequential writer. So if I have an idea for something that I think would work well for plot later on, I'll jot that down. But in general, I don't really write in like outline. People will tell you not to do this. People will say don't edit as you write. I do, because that works for me. And I cannot actually, I'm sorry, my dog is scratching at the door, but I actually can't move to the next scene until I'm comfortable with the scene that I just wrote. So I edit, not grammatically or for typos and things like that, but I edit for like do line edits as I'm writing. So that's what works for me.
Really? So I'm just curious, how many times did you change that line? Like going back, like, no, this sounds better. Does that slow you down, you think?
Sometimes, yeah, but ultimately I would say, I mean, I guess it would seem to slow you down because you can't move, because I for real can't move on until I'm comfortable with the scene. But I think in the long term, it doesn't because honestly, by the time I'm finished with the book, it's in pretty tight shape, at least in terms of like I said, like line edits and how the story structure and flow. By the time I'm done, like I'm not going. I typically am not having to go back and do major rewrites or restructuring of a story. It's pretty solid by the time I'm finished because I have done that editing work as I'm writing. That now again that won't work for everyone. Everyone's not that type of writer, but that's just what works for me. And also I've been I've in journalism. I've been an editor for a long time, so I kind of go into it with that mind frame anyway. So that probably helps me a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask you. Being in the journalism field again as an editor, do you think you critique your work more, even more so than maybe your clients or other people you work with?
Yeah, I'm like, do I critique my own work?
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's not purposely. I mean, because you can't get too caught up in that, otherwise you won't finish. Like if you're so stuck on editing yourself too hard, you won't finish. But yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I have maybe certain expectations of myself. I guess I don't know. Yeah, maybe so. But I think it honestly helps me more than it hinders me, though.
So you've been in this industry for a long time. I know people look at you, they can't tell because you still look like you're 16, 17. I'm just saying. So when people look at you, but you have been in this industry for a while. How would you say that it's changed? Particularly the indie Black romance community.
Well, I mean, the first and foremost, it's just gotten huge. It's much bigger, but that's not surprising. I kind of say, I mean, we saw the writing on the wall in the 2016, 2017 era because I think anytime that something has been neglected, and even though there was obvious desire for it, it only was going to take a matter of time before it exploded. And especially with the access that we have, like in terms of actually publishing, and then the access and the visibility that you have with social media, it was just a matter of time before, because I mean, statistically, we know Black women read more than anyone else. And love stories are incredibly accessible. They're easy to digest. They're quick reads, and so it kind of makes number sense, which is why it's always surprising to me that publishers didn't get on board with that faster, just from a statistic standpoint.
Yeah. And they're still not on board, but that's another story.
It is.
That's right. A whole book for you to write right there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely exploded, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see. I'm always glad to see more,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have been a part of it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To see the growth of the community and to see you stepping back in. I'm loving it. It's like you and Nia and just love and like everyone coming back in because it just seemed like, I don't know, it seemed like it was just kind of like a lull. But I think it's so important. Even though you may not identify as a mentor, how do you feel like? Do you feel like that's just a space where you just kind of landed?
I don't. I mean, I'm happy to mentor someone. I don't feel like I am a mentor right now. I don't have. Well, I mean, when people ask me questions, I answer them. so I mean, but I don't have like a specific group of people or whatever that I'm mentoring. But yeah, absolutely. Like I've always been of the mind frame, like if you have knowledge, like why wouldn't you share it? Like if you know something that is helpful to someone else in the business, like it certainly doesn't take anything away from you to share it, right? Like that's what we're supposed to do in communities. So yeah.
So again, now we're from young adults to adults, like grown 40. Was there any challenges that you faced in writing my brain freezes when 40 blooms because I keep wanting to say the prototypes.
Well, I have the shirt on and everything. Yeah, I feel
I
you.
know, and I'm like looking at the shirt, and I'm like, I want to say the prototype so bad because I mean, yeah, okay, we're gonna focus on the new book, y'all, but we're gonna go back to the prototypes because it's just they live in my brain. I think they live in a lot of people's brains and a lot of people's hearts, and you really did such a great job with giving us characters that will just live on and on and on.
Thank you.
And considering all, like you said, this how large this community has grown, and all the many books that I know I have read, I still go back to the prototypes. And I talk about it all the time. I always re-show it. So we're gonna get back to the prototypes because. So when 40 blooms, were there any challenges that you faced when you were writing that book? When you were writing this book?
Just honestly, the main challenge was just getting it done. You know, I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to write, so I got time to write, and that was really the main challenge. This book, the book was very. I think in some ways it was kind of cathartic for me as well. Yeah, the main challenge was just getting it done, and then also making sure that I was doing justice to Simone's story. And because it's a romance, obviously, and Jackson plays a huge role in it, but ultimately to me this is Simone's story. So I just wanted to make sure that I was treating the things that she was going through and some of the trauma that she experienced carefully and thoughtfully, and that it came across the way that I intended it to, I guess.
And it did. Again, y'all, we're talking about When 40 Blooms, and this is Author Jacinta Howard. She also did the Prototype series. She's very well known for that. And what joy did you get out of this? Like, not even joy. Like, what did you want your readers to take away from this?
I wanted readers to come away. Well, I mean, first, just on a very basic level, I want readers to come away feeling like good after they read it, and also like I want it to stick with you. Everything that I write, like how you were just talking about how Prototype, like you still remember the characters and all that. That's always my goal with every book that I write. I want for it to stick with you, and I want for like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years later, the book to still be relevant, because you know what I mean. Like I'm not writing; it's contemporary, but I try to write in a way that ultimately story can carry, the actual story and can carry on, I guess. So yeah, I mean, that was the main thing. And also, obviously Simone goes through a lot of healing in the book. And so if someone was experiencing something similar, hopefully they saw some healing paths or, Yeah.
There was definitely a lot of healing paths in the book. When you put in things like but let me just go ahead. I was trying to think of a way to say it because I don't want to get in trouble on this side. Let's talk about spice. Okay. So because I'm very familiar with the younger books, and now you're writing divorced couple that are now reconnecting, and they pretty much are. We don't see them initially fall in love. They're in love when we get this. It's just they're separated. And their lovemaking scenes just seem more intimate and passionate. It just seemed, to me, it seemed different. Did it seem that way to you? Opposed to writing like Cassie's or Jersey's.
Yeah, I guess it was different. I mean, honestly, when I'm writing, I think it's different just because of the circumstances and because of the characters. I mean, you're talking about, like you said, a grown couple who are divorced and have a kid, and so like their intimacy is much different than someone who's 19 or 20 and still discovering what they like and getting comfortable in their body and that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, like honestly, when I'm writing love scenes, I really try to make it. It's part of the plot. It's part of the story. I don't write love scenes gratuitously. You know what I mean? Like that bothers me as a reader. So I definitely don't do it as a writer. But yeah, I mean, I wanted Simone and Jackson's love scenes to be very, very intimate and very sensual, just because of where they were in their relationship with each other and what I needed those love scenes to convey about their relationship with each other, and like their film, because at the points where there's at a lot of points in the book, Simone is still figuring out herself in her relationship with Jackson.
Right.
So while she's in the midst of doing that, I still wanted their love scenes to convey the love and the intimacy that they still had, even as she was struggling.
I just felt like she struggled a lot, and again, it was her past experience
Mm-hmm.
that, and the whole time I was reading this, you know, I just was thinking so many people could benefit off of reading this book, like because I felt like so many of people base their relationships, not even realizing it, is from the relationships that you experienced. So her behaviors and the decisions that she was making was like built in her.
Mm-hmm.
And I called it. It was something, I think when I was taking notes, I was like, oh, here it is. I put um, she needed a way to get over. I called it a generational trauma, relationship trauma. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't really identify trauma sometimes centered around relationships. Like no, like if someone broke up and we just broke up and maybe the child experienced it, you just, even if it was no physical or anything, like not realizing how that separation and that loss impacts that child.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, it really impacted her.
Yeah. I mean, well, she had a lot of traumatic. Her parents were something else. So I
How
mean,
was it writing that? How was that experience? Because at one point I was like talking to the book and talking to the air, because I'm just like, like why? Why would she's there? She's in the room. Like, why are you doing this?
I think, well, I have seen couples where it's almost like you lose they lose spatial awareness when they're arguing, and I think sometimes, I mean, I don't think that's all that uncommon, honestly. I think, you know what I mean, and it's unfortunate, of course. Um, but yeah, I mean, when I was writing those scenes, and trying to decide, I was really mostly just trying to decide how far her parents would go. I wanted it to seem realistic and still grounded. Like they loved her, and they were still nice people, but they just were incredibly selfish, and you know, they weren't unable to control. They did not have a lot of emotional maturity, so they could not. They were unable to manage their emotions in the way, and that affected their kid. And so I think a lot of times when you're actually in the midst of that, like in the middle of it, you don't really realize how impactful and how that can linger with the kid, and how it really impacts the way that they view relationships. Because I just think your what you witness as a kid and how you witness your parents being in their relationship plays a huge role on
Absolutely.
how you conduct yourself in relationship, your views of relationships. So yeah, that was kind of the thought throughout it.
And I felt also that Logan, how girlfriendships are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's one point where Logan says to her, like, well, like your mom, are you doing this because your mom and your dad did this? Like, are you waiting for this to go bad, or
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, they were together for like 10 years before they even got married.
Yeah, and so I wanted to throw that in there as well, to show how, because yeah, I mean, just to show how Simone's issues and her decision to divorce, it wasn't a thing that just came up all of a sudden. There was not one thing that triggered it. This is a coping. She went into the relationship with wrong coping mechanisms. Like, you know what I mean? She went into the relationship with,
With intentions that it wasn't going to work.
yeah, and not purposely. She didn't do it on purpose, but yeah, she did have that in the back of her mind because that was her expectation, given what she had seen growing up. So
You know how wild that is? So I think you're going to divorce me. So I'm going to divorce you before you divorce me, because I don't want to get hurt. And I mean, to think,
Yeah.
but you know how many people move like that? Like a
Yeah.
lot of people.
And I mean, and I think in Simone's case, like I think that she also just was trying to protect her son, like what she thought was protecting her son, because she was she was trying so hard to not be like her parents and not expose her kid to the things that she was exposed to, that she just went the opposite direction and took it just too far. And I think sometimes you can do that as well. I think that's actually something people do quite often.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely a lot of realism in this book. I was looking at some people, some of the reviews, and things like simply amazing, love, good read, adult marital relationship, 10 out of 10. And there was one that I read and it said a true second chance romance, and I'm like, yeah. It was just better than okay. It was just really you did it. You did your thing. Back to girlfriendship. How important do you think it is to make sure that when you write your stories, you always give your FMCs a best friend that's a strength?
Because I mean, I think those relationships are important in life. I mean, your love or the person that you are in relationship with romantically cannot be your only sounding board. They cannot be your only focus. You have to have like other relationships in your life to be whole, really. So, and I mean, for me, like a lot of times I write women who have male friends. So I like writing women that have guy friends as well. And like,
yeah, definitely, because you think of the prototypes, right? Jersey, she was everyone in the band. It was like she was the little sister, and they like carried her through. Let me see what else I got for you. I'm trying to make sure I hit every point. You have written how many books now?
I think it's 11.
11. I'm sure you're gonna say this is, but do you have any character that you wish you could go back and revamp and reintroduce to us?
Like I want to change them, or just that you got
like now it's been like 10 years or however many years, and it's like, you know what, if I think I could have probably made him this way, or I could have.
Honestly, I do that with every single book I write because I'm a professional. Like, I mean, I'm always like, oh, I could have did this, or oh, I could have did that, just because that's how I am. So I could probably do that with all my books, honestly. I mean, but also when you're writing something, like, hopefully my whole goal with writing is I want to try to get better with every book that I write. And, your books are such a reflection of where you are at that time. So, I mean, a book, like if I was to write, Happiness in Jersey now, it would be a completely different book. Just
Really?
It's 10 years later, I have different experiences. It's just, I'm in a different place in my life. So I feel like that would come out. So, I mean, I just try not to think like that because I'd be over here obsessing, like I should have wrote this,
So as an author, when you're writing, it's really based on your current circumstances of what we end up getting is based on where you are at that time frame.
Kind of. I mean, just because like the way that you're perceiving things, the way that you're observing things, the way that things are coming out, those perceptions are coming out on the page. I think are dependent upon what your experience level is, or sometimes where you are in life too. I mean, that's why a lot of writers can't write like if they're deeply sad, because they end up writing something deeply sad, So I mean, yeah, I think your emotions, and then also in a broader sense, just your growth patterns, how you've grown, affects how you write too.
What are your challenges, or what challenges have you faced in keeping your books authentically Black?
Say that one more time.
By keeping your books authentically Black, how are you making sure you're doing that? To make sure that, because I know that was the lens before when we talked, It was like, okay, this is what I see. This is what I want to do. When you're writing, if there's maybe like another character or something, like how do you make sure you're giving us authentic Black love stories?
Um,
Thanks, masterpiece.
Honestly, I don't even think about that. I mean, I just write Black characters. And so, I mean, I think just making sure that I'm making the characters. My main thing is just is does this feel real? Does this feel realistic? Do these characters feel real? And because they are Black, that means it's authentically Black. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm mindful of like.
But see, you and not only when I like let's say authentically Black, you're gonna make sure you're gonna give us some Black history.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go back and pull up some. You're gonna use like old school again, like Black athletes. You're gonna pull in people, even if you pull in Nina Simone. Like you're going to make sure that you are introducing that to us.
That's true.
How important do you feel that is? Because when I read your work, I'm like, you know what? Like I told you, Betty Boop. Like I didn't know that. I didn't. And I'm like, okay, well, I learned something new. Like how important is that to you to make sure that you're getting that to us?
Oh yeah, now that yeah, I mean that's definitely important. You know, and then plus I just like to shine light on things that I don't feel like get enough recognition as well. That's why like when you read my music books, like the books that are talking about music a lot, I'm very intentional about the artists that I mention.
Mm-hmm.
I do that very intentionally. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think like you said, like I think it's always cool to like read something and feel like you came away with something maybe you didn't know before. And even if you did know it, I don't know, I just like dropping in stuff that I think is interesting too.
I still like the fact that, at least for me, because when I first started reading, I didn't see Black love on pages.
Mm-hmm.
Those weren't the books that I was introduced to.
Right.
So to be able to see it, that's why I always ask you guys, like, how does that feel? Like, who is your target audience? Who do you want these books to reach? Because it looks so different from what the masses are reading and what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I always ask, like, what are you doing to make sure that you're getting it right? And what is your target audience?
I mean, my target audience is obviously first Black women. And I always like to write for, you know, Black women that don't necessarily feel seen per se. You know, I write a lot of like quirky, kind of a little off the beaten path Black women, just because I like to, you know, I feel like that is representation that we need too. So I definitely write for Black women. That's primarily what I write for. And then if you also like it, wonderful. Cool.
I love it. And so when 40 blooms, did you have a target age? And when you wrote the prototypes, because y'all, again, I'm gonna keep going back to the prototypes. I mean, that was 10 years ago. Like I was like way younger when I read that.
Yeah.
And man, I just still love it. I still love, and I laugh because in when 40 blooms, like she doesn't know she has a hickey, and I kind of laugh because that was something that was a hickeys from the. That was in the prototype, so I was like, okay, different authors, different things. Like, I thought that was awesome. I just thought that was awesome. But again, with 40 Blooms, what was your target audience? Or how would you feel about presenting this as a book, like maybe to, right now, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, when I'm out here and I'm promoting your book, is there a target audience for this book?
You know, I think just from the title alone, I think it's going to attract, women who are 40 are going to be, probably it might pique their, they might be more interested in it. I think So yeah, I mean, sure. I think 40 year old women is that like that's a great target audience because there aren't a ton of books out there that, especially romance books that talk about women who are 40 and above. So
Yes.
that they obviously, need, need representation. Um, but I mean, honestly, with all of my books, I feel like you could be however old and read any of them, honestly, because it's
Yeah.
really more about character and story. I think you could be 45 years old and still enjoy Prototype, even though these are like
Yeah.
20-year-old, and college aged, and then you see them grow. But, and I also think that you could be 22 and enjoy When 40 Blooms.
Exactly.
Maybe it will be more of a learning experience for you if you're if you're younger, but
Yes, and that's what I was thinking. You answered exactly what I was thinking because honestly, when I read prototypes, I mean, I'm a lot older. So when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this was like, if I had read this when I was younger, gosh, like I would have done things so different. Then when I read, absolutely, I'm like, y'all, if y'all 25 and y'all 30, y'all need to read this book so this can be like a romance Bible. It's gonna be like a romance Bible because that's why I asked you about research because it was done so well. It was so accurate. It was on point. It was entertaining, well written, edited well. I mean, I'm biased maybe a little bit, but for me, this was definitely like a super 5 star. Like, so it was a 10 out of 10 because you got all of it. But let's talk about audiobook because I did immersive reading. So I was lucky enough to get a copy of the book at the Black Romance Fest. So I had it before it was released. And so the day that the audiobook released, I was able to do the book and the audio at the same time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so the experience is like a movie, right? You had Wesley Siobhan do this for it. Have you listened to it?
Yeah.
When you listened to it, what was that experience like?
Oh, I mean, it's always so cool to hear your books and audio. It just takes it to another level. And working with Wesley, she's just so good. So
what is that process like?
honestly, I asked if she was available, and she was like, "Cool, I'll do it." So I'm just grateful that she said that she would do it. And I've worked with her obviously on Prototype too, and another book that I independently produced from the Prototype series as well. But she's just great. Like I don't really have to give her any notes at all ever. I just let her read because she understands the inflections of my character. Well, everyone does not. So she naturally understands like the inflections that I write. Like I don't ever have to explain anything to her. She just gets it, and she's so good. So yeah, Wesley is like so good. I love her.
So good. I mean, like I said, I didn't do because sometimes you read them and then you get the audible. At least I do. Like I'll get the book and the audible, but to do it at the same time, I was just like, oh, this was perfection, y'all. Again, I'm biased, but I mean, this is so good. So, in promoting, how is it promoting When 40 Blooms when you have like interviewers like me who cannot get my head out of prototypes? How has the experience been for you're introducing new characters, a different age group. How has that been with your followers?
It's been pretty cool. I mean, everything's gone like really well. I'm really grateful because people who were already familiar with me, they seem to like it. It's not like they were like, "This is trash," thankfully. So I'm glad that they liked it, and they kind of, and I do think that I write in a distinctive enough style that it wasn't that far off from my other, like you could recognize my voice still is what I'm saying. My voice.
Your style.
So yeah, I mean it's been cool, and I mean honestly, I think now with this book, I've had more readers come along who had never heard of me before. So that's cool. I'm excited. I hope they'll get into my back catalog now with you.
Listen,
That's why I appreciate it because there's a lot of people who don't know me at all. So this is their first time reading me. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool.
you have to like let me reintroduce myself. But listen though, because this is published, you have a publisher,
Mhm.
and the prototypes is indie. How has it experience been merging the two? Are you able to merge the two? And let me start there. How has that experience been?
Like merge the work. Like when you say merge the two.
you know, like now, like we're supposed to be talking about 140 blooms, but I just can't keep my. I keep talking about the prototypes, and then I'm like, I know we're supposed to be talking about this one right here. How has that experience been on your? I know tomorrow you're going to be somewhere, right? Or tomorrow in
Yeah,
Atlanta?
I'll be at the library at the Snellville Library in Atlanta. So
Yeah. And so when you show up, are people showing up because they really want to get prototypes signed? Like how I'm saying, how has that been?
it's been fun. Like honestly, it all says Jacinta on it, so so I don't care which book. I mean, it's all good. Hopefully, if you really dig prototype, then hopefully you'll be interested enough to read my other titles. If you really dig 40, then hopefully you'll be interested enough to go back and read prototype. So I mean, it's all good. If you like any of my books, I appreciate it. Really.
I have read other books too, but they're the ones that stick in my head. I'm just telling you, they just like live in my brain. Um, so with 40 Blooms, why did you choose to do 40 Blooms with a publisher and not indie, as you are very familiar with the indie community?
Well, I mean, for one thing, like I've known Keisha, who runs Honey Blossom Press, for a long time, and so I was happy to work with her. And I just think this is Honey Blossom is also a small press, and she's a Black woman publisher, and she's trying to do things. She's trying to highlight Black women authors in a publishing space, in a more traditional publishing space. So I'm on board with that. Like I think that's cool. So when she asked if I'd be down, I was like, okay, cool. Like let's do it. So yeah, yeah, that's it wasn't like a grand plan or anything like that.
But that's what support looks like. What
Yeah.
support looks like. Because you told me when I got this book from you, you said it's a little different. So I went in with that mindset, and I was like reading, holding the book, like, oh, this is good. Like as I'm reading through it, I'm like, this is good. This is so good. Like this is, and I'm thinking, no, why did you say it was going to be different? I didn't feel a different vibe at all.
Okay, I was just concerned. I mean, just because for you, I know you do like prototype, and I know you're like a music person too. And so I was like, this is not. Most of my books, I have some kind of musician or music writer or music is happening somewhere in almost all of my books. This one, that was not happening, even though I was able to name drop some artists.
and then you put that's why I appreciated the sports, because I'm a basketball just fanatic, and so I was like, yes. So the basketball, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
she's gonna keep us in this space, and yeah, I really enjoyed all of it. I did feel that I could see this book in like a big box store.
Well, that would be wonderful. I'd love to see it.
I did. I totally felt that vibe with this book.
Well, thank you.
So in my mind, I'm going to be honest now. I was like, okay, is this what was this created for the big box community, or what? Because I don't know. I just felt like this was the book.
I mean, I think because this came out through a small press, I think it's, and the fact that, audio came out at the same time, and I think it's definitely positioned to be in bigger stores for sure. But so yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just
I mean, it is in some bookstores, though. I believe like a few like indie bookstores, and I'd have to like get the names of them for you. But
yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah, you know what? I need to talk to my bookstore down here. I think they would really. I mean, because I read so many books, but this one I was like, okay, I see this one's positioned because it's not a. It's a you know. It's, I don't know. Maybe you can add more to this. I mean, are we going to see more from more? Are they? We going to see any Logan or anyone else?
I can't say exactly yet. But I mean, it's definitely out. There's definitely room for that, though. That's for sure.
Okay. Just figured I'd ask because I'm like, but yeah, I definitely I could see this one, the movies and everything. This we did an excellent job with that.
Thank you.
I'm so used to the other website, other site where I'm like, y'all have any questions?
I know.
It's hard to see them, but no. Thank you for showing us love from a 40-year-old perspective. It's a little bit different when you're looking at it from a 19-year-old fighting in the street kind of perspective. Fighting in the street kind of perspective. I mean, yeah. And the transition was an amazing transition because I'm a little, I won't say selfish, but the wait was worth its while, but hopefully we won't have to wait for the next one. So can you let us know what do you have next for us?
I can't give you any titles as of yet, but I will say for sure it will not be a 5-year wait. I will have.
Thank you for the crew. Someone says everyone loved the crew like that. I think that we just have to. Yeah, someone else said they love the audio. Just finished it. Like we really have to. This is great, but I'm gonna keep reintroducing the prototypes because I just think like I think everyone should have the opportunity to experience great work with music in it and just a well written, good flow, flushed out story that takes you through all the emotions. And it's like I felt like even the music in it, like I would stop, pause, and play the music.
Oh,
so that I could just like experience. I think it's like at one point, I think Cassie is sitting on a sofa, and while she's sitting there, it's like a song. It was Christian Scott.
Oh,
and I remember I went to a Christian Scott concert after reading it in the book because I didn't know anything about Christian Scott. So I just felt like it was just an introduction to just so many things that you've done, and you did the same thing again here. I mean, thank you. And okay, back to what do you have next?
Yeah, like I said, I can't give any titles out right now, but I know that it will not be another 5-year wait. So I'll have something out soon.
All right. And it's going to be still with your published, it's published and all that good stuff?
I'm not sure. I mean,
hybrid kind of bouncing around?
Yeah, hybrid. Yep.
Okay, well, I am, again, glad to have met you. Glad to say I know you. Glad to be pushing and promoting your work. And, please keep doing what you're doing. You have anything you want people to know?
Not really. Just you can find me at jacintahoward.net. Sign up for my newsletter. Follow me on social. That's about it.
Where are you going to be? Any upcoming events? I know the bookstore you said tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'll be at the Snellville Library tomorrow at 6:30 with Brianna Pepins. And then on Saturday, I will be at Books in the City. And I don't have the exact address.
That's in Atlanta?
Yes, but it is in Atlanta. Yes, it's in Atlanta. It's called Books in the City. And then I will be in, early October. I will be at the Black Book Bash in Orlando.
Okay.
And then in late October, I will be at Stimulate in California.
California. And next year you're at BRBF.
Yes, and next year I'll be at Black Romance Book Festival.
So are you filling up your calendar for 2026 for people who might want to see you in, I mean, there's from Texas to North Carolina. And I mean, are you going to be doing those type of?
I mean, if I get invited, yep, I'll come through for the most part. Yeah, I hadn't been doing a lot of events for a while. I just kind of chilled on them. But yeah, I'm back doing stuff now. I have a new book, so for sure. Yep, I'm down.
The new book, listen, that's why we reintroducing this, everybody again, just so you know, I'll show them, these are the prototypes, y'all. Happiness in Jersey, Finding Kennedy. That's what I have. Loving Cassie. And then I have the Love Below, the wrap-up story. I got them all right.
Yeah.
And so again, this is an amazing series. I talk about it all the time. I think I have the books posted. And again, let me take a look over here, see what's going on. If anybody has, like again, you can get in touch with this author Jacinta Howard. She's here on TikTok. She's on Instagram. And then you can also go to JacintaHoward.com.
.net.
.net.
Yep.
If y'all just want to get some good, solid, you don't have to wait. It's already written. Her new book also. If you're 40, if you're thinking about divorce, if you've been divorced. I'm just saying, if you're thinking about divorce, if you've been divorced and you still are in love with the person that you divorced.
Right, that's the key. If you're still in love.
Then I promise you, you will get joy and pleasure out of this book. If you're in just a relationship and you just need to figure out how to navigate someone loving you and you trying to figure out how to love them back, this is a book for you. If you're a single mom, because you're divorced, and you have a child that's kind of going back and forth between the parents and he's trying to discover even his versions of love, this is how you can find out how to help him. If you were born on the leap year, you need to figure out what day you want to celebrate your birthday.
Right.
This is a book. Now, seriously though, if you just want some good old school history lessons, some introductions to a lot of things that I just think as Black women that we need to know to make us better, I really do believe that Jacinta Howard writes really good work for that. The drama is realistic, and so it's not, and nothing is it's realism. It's just realism throughout the entire book. You know, you're gonna get what you want. You're just gonna get it. So that's my take on the new book.
Thank you.
And so I hope I gave a good, I don't want to give anything away, but a good enough representation to encourage people to please support the community, support the Black romance community, support Black love in books. I call it generational. You guys say generational wealth. I call it generational love. These books are showing our youth and our young women what love can look like, should look like, in different versions of love. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I got for you. I'm going to let you close us out with anything you have to say.
Just thank you so much for having me on again. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited to see how your platform has grown, even since the last time I was on, like, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So
3 years ago, I know, 3 years ago. Yeah, and they encouraged me. They were like, well, you know what, try TikTok out. So this is my first time. So you guys, I was a little nervous because I'm used to being able to see everybody that can see me. So not being able to see who's watching is kind of a little different. But again, the goal is books like The Prototype to reintroduce to a new community of readers. And there's a lot of new readers on this platform that haven't been introduced to Jacinta Howard, your work, The Prototypes. And so it's kind of like moving around to make sure that my goal is to introduce Black love on pages as much as possible to anybody that will read it, because I know that what the power words do. I know how the power words can change people's lives and make people better. And that's just the ultimate goal for what that's what I'm all about. And if y'all know if there's a book out there that I really truly believe in, I'm gonna keep on touting. I'm gonna stand on the mountaintop. I'm like, this is it. Because when I tell you, we was in our little group chats, and we was like, oh my gosh, like the conversations were beautiful. They're so beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you somewhere on the road soon.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you always know you can reach out, and anything I can do to help push and promote, you know, I'm gonna be in your corner doing that. Thank you for introducing me to Black love and books.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you. See you soon. Bye, y'all. I have to figure out how to turn it off, but okay. I guess it's offline. I think I did this right.